what are the things that you started to do for yourself, the things that helped you go through your own healing process and grow your own spirituality and grow through all of that?
So at the time, well, also we're training. We did a lot of. I didn't really realize at the time, but I'd go to ceremonies and stuff like that. Um, uh, and then I did Tai Chi and like Kung Fu, so that was also very healing during that time. I guess
Nice.
in a way, would get me through that,
Yeah.
those hard times. In many ways, even though I wasn't realizing at that time. Um, yeah,
Got it. So it's basically these practices that you chose to engage with that helped you get through that and helped you grow through
yeah,
the things you were going through.
yeah. And they, later in life, I sort of lost, connection with that. Lost the belief more or less. Um, and all the things that happened sort of shaped, the reason why wanted to get back to the community in a way. But it really was a way, and really it was about me um, reconnecting with, not reconnecting, revitalize, like trying to, because my youth was so tumultuous. I needed to sort of rediscover it. I don't know. So when I got involved working with the youth organization, working with gang impacted youth, and it was really about me. You know, I'm losing the word here, but re, refining my youth, more or less, and so I just kind of, yeah, that's basically what it was. Why I went back to help that community and work with gang impacted kids, because I felt like if I had I didn't have a person there to be like, hey, stop what you're doing, more or less. And so it never was that person. So I wanted to be that person.
What would you say to the teenage version of yourself now, knowing what you know now, looking back, if you could give some wisdom or some guidance to that 15-year-old version of yourself, or to a 15-year-old young man going through really a similar situation as you, what would you say to him?
I say reach out, ask for help.
Yeah.
Ask for help. I think that's the one of the signs of trauma, not being able to ask for help. And that's really what a lot of acting out is, as with youth. It's their way of just asking for help. This is the only way they get attention, so that's how they're going to get attention. So they gotta framing it, talking about a better way of asking for help, essentially, is what I chalk it up as.
Where are those general places people could go to ask for help?
I mean, there's there's a ton of resources out there um, to help people, and there's all there's depending on what the person is going through. There's hotlines. Or if you want like a case manager, you can talk to a lot of different people at different organizations depending on the person. If you're talking about, if you're Native American youth, there's NARA, who has everything around um, mental health wellness, or drug and alcohol addiction. There's Native American Youth and Family Center, that's more around academic help, or yeah, yeah, academic help. And there's obviously other outside sources that can help you. If it's like, if you go to counseling, therapy. For me, I reached out to you for help. So and I'm actually kind of glad you did. Or you, yeah, I remember one, specifically at the gym, you kind of came up to me. I can't even remember really the conversation, but I just remember we finally had to kind of get sit down, because I knew, I'd just been going through things, and it was nice to sit down and talk with you and stuff like that. And so I think for also kids is, being able to find those people maybe that can bridge that gap between, whatever those services are that they need, and which is kind of the tricky part, because a lot of times they don't trust those people who are in
Right.
positions in those organizations and stuff like that. So it takes people who are outside of and have that closer relationship. So,
Right. So the question becomes, if you have a hard time, if you're in a tough situation and you have a hard time trusting the people in your family, the people in your community, how does a person then bridge that gap? How do you know who to trust?
that's the tough part, and it usually takes um, sort of a major kind of event, a life changing event, or at some point, an internal drive for change, I guess, or willingness to change. And, you know, I think there's a lot of, in the Native community, we have these, uh, a lot of these events that happen where it's based around wellness. They happen all over reservations and stuff like that, where they're able to, we discuss, very tough topics that, impact the community directly. And a lot of these are the bridge, to that, bridging that gap, where maybe kids don't trust, or whoever doesn't trust people in their own personal lives. And they find that a person who comes in the community who's not necessarily, involved in these, mental health services and stuff like that, but are, about talking about these tough issues. They just get the thought in the head, in that person that, maybe now is that time for change. And that's kind of the only, way I see it, as being able to implant that thought in that person's mind that they need to make that change.
What were the little, like, if you tapped into sort of those feelings that you had of like why you trusted the people that you did to support you, what are those feelings? What's that sort of internal knowing that a young person could follow? Like, what should they be trusting within themselves first to be able to know, like, okay, I don't really want to go, this way, but I trust this organization. I trust these people. What are those indications?
Indications of why they, or who they should trust. Well, from if I think about to my 16-year-old self, or high school self, I always looked up to the people who were doing these bad things, kind of deal. And I think at some point I found my mind just, I knew this wasn't, me. It was about, identity and my what I really liked, what I was doing, and how it made me feel. And so I always thought about that, okay, this person's not making me feel good about myself, or it's I'm giving more to this person than they're giving to me.
Right.
And they're not treating me very well. And so, I'm not feel like I'm making myself growth. And so I think if they can come to that realization about who to trust, if they think about the relationship with that person and how much, what that person is giving back to you, I think that'll help them in making that growth.
Hey, thanks for watching this interview. I hope you feel uplifted and inspired by what was shared. Make sure you like and subscribe to make sure that you see all the other awesome videos that we have coming up.